Hey, how's it going, guys? How's it going to everybody out there in the YouTube community? And on today's episode of What I Be Thinking, I just been thinking about today about my debt journey. You know, how debt almost ruined me financially, not just a couple years ago. Now I'm still climbing my way out, but I'm nowhere near where I used to be. You know, it used to be really, really bad for me. And I just want to share a little short story with y'all of how I got into so much debt. When I was 19 and I was in college, I was in community college, and I was sitting in a class, and my teacher asked everyone that didn't have any debt or any type of credit card to raise their hand. I'm looking around, my hand is the only one raised, and I'm like, wow, like everybody has a credit card. And you know, I felt kind of good about it, but I really didn't know how to feel because I didn't really know too much about debt and all that because I didn't have any. So my teacher, he was like, well, son, that's not a good thing. You're going to want to get you a credit card one day. You're going to need to build up credit and this and that. So that's not good. You're going to want a credit card. You're going to need to have a credit card. And I understand, like, yeah, I needed to build up credit and stuff like that. I understood that. But I was shocked that I was, you know, kind of being chastised for not having, you know, a credit card or any type of like credit debt out there. Now let's fast forward till I'm about 22 years old, and I moved. And when I moved, it was hard for me to find a job at first. And so during that time when I didn't have a job and I was still looking for a job, I still had to pay my rent because me and my cousin was living together, splitting the rent. So it was still kind of hard for me to, you know, come up with my portion of the rent and the electric and all that stuff like that. So I was on the phone with my mom, you know, trying to figure out what I needed to do. The jobs wasn't coming, you know, I wasn't getting any interviews like that, and I was running low on cash. So she says, hey, call up your bank where you got your debit card from and try to apply for a credit card. So I did that, and they gave me $1,000, which wasn't much, but it really helped me out, and that, you know, gave me another month, you know, worth of living expenses and stuff like that. So I found a job, and I went through this job with only that one credit card, you know, and it was maxed out the whole time I was working this job, you know, because I always needed it because the job I got didn't pay me that much, so I always needed to use the credit card to help me out with the bills. So it always stayed maxed out. I never opened up another credit card. So I had that. I had some student loans had started to rack up because after I was 19, when I turned 20, 21, that's when I started using financial aid to help me pay for school. Because at first, 18, 19 years old, I was paying it all out of pocket. So now I'm racking up, you know, student loan debt, and, you know, I was using that refund check from the student loans to help me out with bills and to live a little bit. And I was also using that $1,000 credit card to help me live. And I was also working a second job during the Christmas time at the post office to help me get extra money. And that was like the only time of year where I actually had, you know, decent money to do stuff I enjoyed. And I had a car. I had my same car, which was only like $100 payment at the time when I was like 21, 22. So it wasn't really that much. No, it was $200 car payment and my insurance. So, and that's all I had in that one credit card. So fast forward, now my car started giving me troubles. I'm still at the same job. Now I'm like 22, 23 years old, car giving me troubles. Now I need a new car because, you know, I had my mom help me get my transmission, you know, rebuilt. That didn't fix the issue. So I felt like I owed her back for all the help she was giving to me. I was like, man, I owe her back in the future when I get money and get on my feet, because she helped me out a lot. I found a car, you know, that was just the first car I ever bought on my own, you know, by myself. So I found a car, used car, a Hyundai Tiburon, little sports car. Found that for like $17,000 used with only 12,000 miles on it. So now my payment jumped from $200 to about $300. So fast forward some more, you know, that's the only debt I have. I got this new car payment, $300, and I still got that one credit card. And in the background, I have my student loans, you know, slowly creeping up. So fast forward, I meet my wife, we get married, she joins the military. When she gets out of boot camp and everything, the Navy sent us to Washington State. So now we drove to Washington State. my wife had, and thank God, like my wife had no debt either. Like she had no debt, no car debt, no credit cards, no nothing. The only credit card she had was the new one she signed up for, you know, when she joined the military, and they got everybody signed up with the bank and everything, and they gave her $1,000 limit, which she didn't even use. So fast forward, now we're driving on this road trip, we run out of cash, and we start using her card, because mine was maxed out. Start using her card, you know, and that was it. So I started working up there in Washington. She was working in the military. We wasn't even thinking about, oh, we need to pay off this card. These cards, like, really, like, thinking about it hard, like, oh, we need to get rid of this debt. No, we was just doing it casually. Then I was like, hey, I got a job now. I'm gonna pay off my Regions. Paid off my Regions card, and then we paid off our Navy Federal card. Now look, we only got one car between us. That's my car for $300 a month. We had rent and everything like that, and both our credit cards were done. So we were looking pretty good, and she had no car of her own. We only had my car, you know, and her job was right across the street from our apartment, so she didn't really even need a car. So fast forward, this is when it started to go bad. Now I'm looking at, we got a little bit of money coming in, but I'm still not happy as far as like, man, I really like shoes, man, I really like cars, man, I really like to take vacations. I still can't do any of these things, you know. Like, man, if we ever got money, those are the things we wanted to do. We wanted to go on vacations. I wanted shoes and, you know, all the Jordans and stuff like that, and video games, and it was a whole bunch of stuff I wanted. But from me not being able to get anything from my early 20s, you know, to where I was at that point, you know, I kind of just suppressed it all. But I always knew, man, when I start getting money, this is my hobbies, this is what I like to buy, this is what I like to do. So fast forward, we got sent from Washington State to Virginia Beach. Now when we got to Virginia Beach, my wife's job was a little bit further, you know, so she needed a car because I had to work also. So I was like, hey, we'll go to the bank, get you a car loan. They gave her like $20,000 even. So we found her a brand new SUV for $20,000 even, you know, and her payment was, I don't know, I think it was $320. Yeah, it was $320. So that wasn't too bad, and we can afford it because the military was also giving us housing allowance money to live off of, to pay for your rent and stuff like that, and whatever's the extra, you know, is yours. So we used that money to pay for her car note. So we built up a nice relationship with the sales guy at the dealership there, and every time I would go in for oil changes, you guys, I wasn't even looking for a new car for myself, but I hated sitting in that little room waiting on my car to be done, so I would walk around the lot, you know, and look at stuff. And every time my same guy, which is a cool guy, he would come out like, hey man, I know you like that Wrangler, I know you like that Grand Cherokee, you know, go ahead and do it. I'd be like, nah, I'm just looking, waiting on the car to come out, you know, from the oil change. But since I did like cars, to get my fix instead of buying the cars, I would just go to dealerships and test drive different cars, you know, just to drive something different. But I had no intentions of buying anything, or wasn't even really thinking about if I can afford it or not. I just thought I couldn't afford it, you know. So I would just go places and test drive stuff. There's another time I went up there just looking around, and I was like, man, I always wanted a Wrangler. And I really didn't think about Wranglers like that all the time, but I just thought they were cool. I wasn't like having posters of Wranglers on my wall or nothing like that. I just always thought they were neat and cool and interesting. And I was like, I can buy one of those one day. I want one of those one day. So he's talking to me, and you know what the salesman did, since we had bought a car from him previously, I guess. He said, here, take the keys. Bring it back whenever you want. Keep it for a week, keep it for a couple days. Tell me how you think, how you like it when you bring it back. And I'm like, nah, nobody's ever did that. I didn't even know they were allowed to do anything like this. And I'm like, for real? And even the manager came out, you know, he was like, yeah, just take it and whatever, and bring it back and let us know what you think. Man, and they gave me like an upgraded one too. It was like a sport, but it had all the options on it for a sport. You know, it wasn't like a base model Wrangler, it was a two-door. And so they gave me that thing. I drove it to work the next day. I had the top off, I had the window parts taken out. I was like, man, this is really cool. But I knew I couldn't afford that exact one, and I knew the payment was going to be high. So when I took it back in like 2 or 3 days, I took it back. He was like, what you think? I was like, man, I love it, but I didn't want to say I couldn't afford it, because I know they would have tried to find a way for me to afford it to get me approved. So I just said something else like, oh, I don't like the color, and this and that, I didn't like the interior. So he was like, well, pick out another one you like. So I found like this army green color. I forgot what the color was. It was called Commando Green. It had the upgraded top material. You know, it was a soft top with the upgraded soft top material. It had manual roll down windows. It had manual locks, you know, no remote locks. You had to stick the key in to unlock it, you know, and it had, it was a manual. It was a 6-speed, well, 5-speed, I think. It was a 5 or 6-speed. I don't know what Wranglers are. I think it was a 5-speed. And so they talked me into it. I traded in my Tiburon and got this thing. Now my payment is going up to about 4 something. 4 something, almost 5. Maybe it was 5, I'm not sure, but I know it was in the high 4s, like 485, something like that. So now I'm happy, but at the same time, that's more money that's more extra money that we had left over from our bills that's going towards a vehicle I didn't really need at that time, that I kind of just got spare of the moment, you know. And now that more of my money is taken away out of my paychecks to pay the monthly payments, there was no money left over for me to do the Jeep Wrangler modifications that I wanted to do. There was no getting bigger tires, because I was on the base model tires and wheels that were real small, made the whole car look stupid. So I'm on the base model, everything. The only thing I can upgrade was like little cheap stuff, like the grab handles and little decals and stuff on the outside and window tint. That's all I could do. And I was just always so mad, you know, looking through the magazines of accessories, and I can't get anything, you know, because more of my money is now going to pay for the, I'm laughing because there's a base model Wrangler passing by now, and it just made me laugh. But now more of my income is going towards paying the monthly. Now I can't fully enjoy this car. Like, I was taking the doors off and all that stuff, but I wanted that beefy look and I couldn't even afford it. So let's fast forward some more. I started going to the college up there, so now I'm racking up even more student loan debt, because now I'm used to, in my mind, applying for student loans and all that. So now I get into my, oh, let me apply for this credit card or whatever. Let me apply for a Navy Federal credit card. They gave you one, talking about my wife. They should give me one, because I got a job too. They gave me a credit card, $1,000. And what did I go do? I bought a whole bunch of Jordans, and once I started buying shoes, I just kept up with it. Every release date, I was on my phone, no matter if I was at work, at home on a Saturday, or whatever, at school on a Saturday. Sometimes I'm on my phone trying to get the new Jordans and stuff. And then I'm in the malls getting the new Kobe's, getting the new Gary Paytons, getting the new Shaqs. When those came back out, I was getting everything, and it was just out of control. And my wife, she's so nice and want me to have what I want. She's like, go ahead and get it, go ahead and get it. And we're just getting further and further into debt. Then now what do we need? We need computers. Well, we didn't need computers. We wanted computers, and we didn't want any of computers, so we wanted MacBooks. So what did I go do? Hey, Mac has the Barclay credit card and blah, blah, blah. We can sign up for it. My wife signs up for it, gets herself an iPad and a MacBook. So now we got that debt. And then I go sign up a couple months later, get my own Barclay card, and get I got a 24-inch Mac and a MacBook for myself. So now, look at this. We went from having no credit card debt and just a new car, my wife's car. So now we got my wife's new car, my new car, Barclay card, $2,000 limit maxed out, hers. Another Barclay card, $2,000 limit maxed out, mine. Another Navy Federal card, $1,000, mine's maxed out. And her original Navy Federal card, $1,000 maxed out. Look at all this debt we accumulated just to have little things, you know, shoes and cars and MacBooks. And I didn't even tell y'all, when my wife was on deployment, I moved to Virginia first, you know, a couple months before she got back. And that whole time before then, I worked back in Florida before I moved to Orlando. I worked at my old job and I didn't spend a dime. I saved all that money, all her checks that were coming in when she was gone. We saved all of that. We had so much money saved up. We were able to go back to Seattle, do a road trip, do a little vacation when she got back. And we had I opened up a couple CD accounts at my bank, and both of those had like $700. One of them had $700, another one had about $900. So I'm like, okay, we're doing pretty good. And then something happened to my car where I had to drain, something happened to my Tiburon. I had to drain all that money out. And once I drained out that money, I just used the rest. I fixed the car, then I used the rest for all these little stupid things, and it was gone. Like, we came from doing so good to doing so bad in about a 3-year period, from like 2013 to the end of 2014. Well, we were horrible with money, horrible with credit, horrible with credit cards, and our way to fix it would just be to open up another credit card, you know, to have money and stuff. And then my wife made the decision she didn't want to be in the military anymore, so that meant her military pay and her military, you know, housing allowance was going to be cut off at the end of 2014, and we didn't want to stay in Virginia, so now we had to save cash to move back to Florida. So when we got back to Florida, you guys, we were broke. She had no job, I had no job. So we struggled. We almost lost everything. And our apartment wasn't even that expensive. So we had to open up another credit card. No, we didn't open up another credit card. We opened up, what do you call it? We did cash advances on the credit cards we already had to get the cash out to pay our rent. And we had got hit with all those high interest rates with those cash advances on our Navy Federal credit cards. And then that was it, guys. It was like, then we started to think, like, how did this happen? And everything just plays back over in your head, like, man, we bought this. And half those computers and stuff we didn't even have no more. We sold them to get money to move back, but you still owe the credit card people. So we needed the cash to move back, but we didn't use that cash to put back on that bill because we needed that cash. So now those bills are still there. We're paying for MacBooks and stuff that we don't even use anymore, that we don't even have anymore. So we started to reel back in our head, this is what happened, this is what went wrong, and there's no quick fix to get out of this mess. Now you gotta slowly crawl your way out of this mess. Take all your extra money and put towards bills, and that's what we plan to do. So in the next video, guys, I'm gonna tell y'all how we started to get out of debt and was able to buy our first home. Until the next time, guys, please subscribe to the channel, give this video a thumbs up, and hit the bell icon to be notified when I drop another video. And that's what I be thinking, and I'm out.